All retail sectors will be allowed to reopen starting tomorrow, while diners may go back to eating out again as Putrajaya eases existing restrictions under MCO 2.0. This was announced by Senior Minister Security Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob during his daily briefing. He said non-essential retailers such as outlets selling apparel, car accessories, antiques and cookware, as well as photography studios, florists and plant nurseries may now resume operations, subject to strict SOPs. Eateries may allow customers to dine in with the condition that they only seat 2 people per table, with a physical distance of 1 meter. Meanwhile, the entertainment and creative industry will also be allowed to operate again with SOPs in place. Ismail's announcement comes as Malaysia posts 2,764 new COVID-19 cases today, the first time the daily count has come in below 3,000 in weeks. Economists have warned that an extension of the ongoing restrictions or tightened measures would spell a major hit to the Malaysian economy. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Aziz recently said that the current MCO is costing the domestic economy about 700 million ringgit per day. Malaysia's wholesale and retail trade contracted by a record 5.9% to 1.2 trillion ringgit in 2020, Bernama reports, citing data from the Department of Statistics Malaysia. This as sales value and volume plummeted, particularly during the months of March through May, during the implementation of MCO 1.0 last year, before stabilizing towards the end of 2020. Chief Statistician Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said in a statement that in December, wholesale and retail trade dipped 0.3% year-on-year to 115.5 billion ringgit. During the last month of 2020, retail trade declined 2% in sales value to 46.8 billion ringgit, while wholesale trade fell 0.6% to 55.3 billion ringgit. Motor vehicles, however, continued to record positive growth, with an increase of 7.4% year-on-year to 13.4 billion ringgit. Growth was spearheaded by sales of motor vehicles, which grew 15.3% to 7.5 billion ringgit, and the sale, maintenance and repair of motorcycles, which was up 6.9% year-on-year in sales value to 1.1 billion ringgit. Former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak is alleged to have received a total of $971 million, that's 2.973 billion ringgit, said to have originated from 1MDB without any commercial or business justification. The prosecution in the Pavilion condo raid of 2018 told the Kuala Lumpur High Court this today. The discovery follows the investigations conducted by Bukit Aman CCID that found the 3 tranches of payment made to an AmBank account belonging to the ex-PM. These 3 tranches are said to be ill-gotten gains, and investigations by Bukit Aman's anti-money laundering unit found the movements of monies from Lotek Jo-controlled Goodstar, the Abba stage, and the Tenor Finance Corp stage. According to the prosecution, the money trail shows that of the total 2.973 billion ringgit Najib received, 2.034 billion ringgit was returned to Tenor's account. The balance was transferred or spent by the former PM. DPP Muhammad Saifuddin Hashim Musami said this in opposing to separate third-party claims made by UMNO of 114.16 million ringgit and from Najib following the condo raid. He said the prosecution is objecting to the hearings by installments, as it is their case that all seized items are either the subject matter or evidence of the commission of money laundering offences or proceeds from unlawful activities arising from misappropriation of 1MDB funds. The matter is being heard before Justice Datuk Muhammad Jamil Hussain, who in December allowed separate hearings for third parties to make their claims. Najib, for the record, has denied that it was 1MDB money and maintained it was a donation from the Saudi monarch. Berjaya Food says net profit rose 39% to 11.12 million ringgit in the second quarter of FY21, despite recording lower revenue thanks to the implementation of effective cost management. Quarterly top line was down by 5% to 174.1 million ringgit. This was mainly due to lower footfall in stores as a result of the growing concern over the increasing number of COVID-19 confirmed cases, as well as closure of certain non-performing stores. BERJAYA Food announced a second interim dividend of 0.5 cent per share to be paid on March 26th. For the first half, net profit climbed 70% to 21.49 million ringgit, though revenue dipped 3% to 354.82 million ringgit. Looking ahead, BERJAYA Food said the operating environment will remain challenging given the implementation of MCO 2.0. Despite a sharp increase in quarterly revenue, Malaysia Marine and Heavy Engineering Holdings slipped into a net loss of 8.56 million ringgit for the fourth quarter of FY20 from a net profit of 9.28 million ringgit previously. Earnings were dragged by higher operating losses in its heavy engineering segment, hurt by lower contribution from post-sail away projects. Meanwhile, top line jumped 152.34% to 695.54 million ringgit, due mainly to higher revenue from the heavy engineering segment on the back of increased activities in ongoing projects. For the full year, the group saw its net losses widen to 396.81 million ringgit from 34.22 million ringgit a year ago. This was mainly because of provision made for the impact of COVID-19 and the associated higher unabsorbed overheads due to lower activities resulting from yard closure and border restrictions. Yearly revenue, however, rose 55.19% to 1.57 billion ringgit. Thanks to the jump in the heavy engineering segment's revenue, the group says it is currently pursuing recovery of the COVID-19 cost impact from clients and remains cautious on the prospects of order book replenishment in the near term.